Hi, everyone, and welcome to Cassandra Lunch number 69. Today, we are having a junior engineer here tonight, Stefan, present on DataStax Apache Kafka connector. And the organizers for this event are Rahul Singh, Arpan Patel, and myself. We are always looking for members, sponsors, and speakers. So if you or someone you know is a Cassandra expert and would be interested in presenting at a webinar like this and sharing their knowledge, definitely let them know. You can reach out to any one of us. Likely Arpan or myself are going to be the best bet to get a hold of us. So yeah, send them our way. Our emails are listed there, and we can get them slotted to present here. We are a part of a larger community, Data Community DC. It is a diverse culture, and we encourage people of any race, gender, sexual orientation to come and join us, and we expect respect to be given to all protected classes. You can find out more about Data Community DC at their blog listed here, as well as any events they also have coming up. What we cover here is everything related to Cassandra in the Cassandra ecosystem. So Cassandra, DataStax, Kafka, Spark, pretty much all things Cassandra is what we cover here. At this point in the introduction, I would like to, oh, sorry, you guys, it looks like our intro was wrong. Stefan's presenting on k8ssandra today. But if anyone is new to the discussion, if they would like to unmute themselves, say hi, what they do with Cassandra, that would be great. Seems everyone is shy today. I won't pull any teeth on getting people to say hi. Some group roles, if you have a question, please ask it, be polite and courteous to others, and share what you know. This is meant to be a discussion. Stefan will go over how he likes questions to be asked during his intro to his presentation. And here tonight, we work with Cassandra all the time. Cassandra, Spark, Kafka, and recently Airflow. We help and architect real-time data platforms and solutions for our clients. So we work with DataStax and Cassandra frequently. DataStax is a partner, as well as George Washington University, some of the other program sponsors. And if sponsoring this is something you'd be interested in, when we are in in-person meetups, buying food or drinks for people, you can get your logo put here, and some of the other organizational sponsors with Data Community DC. 15-second announcements. If anyone has any jobs, meetups, hackathons that they would like to promote, you can use this as an opportunity to do so. Doesn't seem like it. We are hiring at Anant full-time data platform operators, engineers, and architects. 100% remote positions are available. You can find out more at careers.anant.us. And some upcoming events. We have the sister lunch of this, Data Engineers Lunch, which occurs every Monday at the same time, noon Eastern. We'll be going over introduction to Databricks, as well as we are currently doing a partnership with DataStax on a 3-part workshop. This will be the third in the series, True Cloud Transformation. That's taking place on Tuesdays at noon Eastern as well. And then our upcoming Cassandra lunch next week is going to be over the basics of Apache Cassandra. This will be put on by one of our newest team members, Isaac. So definitely stay tuned to that if you're newer to Cassandra. And you can find all of our events listed at anant.us/events. Cassandra, so these videos all are recorded and uploaded to YouTube. We do have a Cassandra Lunch playlist as well as a Data Engineers Lunch playlist. Definitely look through there for any previous topics. If you're interested in something specific about Cassandra, you can see some of them listed here. As well as Cassandra.Link should be your #1 resource for anything and everything related to Cassandra. These are hand curated articles and web pages that Raul picks himself that he thinks are the most valuable to Cassandra practitioners. And with that, I will pass this off to Stefan. Oops.
All right. Thank you so much, Josh. Let's see here. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So today I will be presenting k8ssandra. Basically, we'll run through a few examples of how to work with k8ssandra using the Stargate API, REST API, and then we will also will present a little bit of demo I created for this presentation utilizing Kafka and Cassandra on Kubernetes, which is k8ssandra using the Stargate. Yeah, let's get started. So for this demo, first of all, we're using Cassandra, right? We all love Cassandra. Everybody's here because of that. Apache Cassandra is a free and open source distributed wide column store NoSQL database management system designed to handle large amounts of data across many commodity servers, providing high availability with no single point of failure. Next, I will be using Kafka, Apache Kafka. So for this project, it is a little bit overkill, but it's just wanted to utilize that into a Kubernetes cluster. So what is Kafka? Apache Kafka is a framework implementation of a software bus using stream processing. It's an open source software platform developed by the Apache Software Foundation, written in Scala and Java. The project aims to provide a unified, high throughput, low latency platform for handling real-time data feeds. All right, so next is Stargate. This comes in the package of k8ssandra. When we push that onto Kubernetes, I will show you the services that utilize Stargate. It comes with k8ssandra. I also believe that this is what DataStax uses for their Astra database. So Stargate, after playing with it, it's a great tool. I wish I found it sooner. So it's just an open source data gateway that sits between your app and your database. You can communicate with Cassandra using REST API, Document API, GraphQL, and it really just makes the whole point of developing anything with Cassandra a lot easier if you just use this Stargate. In contrast to a previous presentation I did using Alessandra, it's a little bit different, but it is kind of reminds me of Alessandra in where you can use REST API to communicate with Cassandra, although this one doesn't allow you to dynamically create tables and automatically just push data. You have to create the table before it and then push the data into that specific table, but it gives you more flexibility and more power, I guess, in creating your Cassandra tables and key spaces and everything. Okay, so and last but not least, I will be running this project and everything in it in Kubernetes. I will be using Minikube, which is like a local development service. So I'm not going to be using something like AWS or Google because we're just doing some development on locally. And Kubernetes is awesome. I recently started using Kubernetes. If you already know Docker, and then it's going to be easier to transition to use Kubernetes because they're kind of like similar. And I will, in the demo, I will show you how I actually use the Docker compose file to create my services and my nodes in Kubernetes, which was really easy. And yeah, Kubernetes is awesome. It takes a little bit of time to learn. So, but one of the more good features it offers is automated rollouts and rollbacks, service discovery and load balancing, storage orchestration, horizontal scaling, and all of those great stuff come with Kubernetes. So with that being said, if there's any questions, Oh yeah, and if you guys want to ask any questions, totally feel free to unmute yourself and just ask me anything. While I'm doing the presentation, it doesn't bother me. So if you guys have any questions right now, just go ahead. And if not, we'll start with the demo. All right, perfect. Seems like everybody's here. Let's go. Okay, so first of all, what we're going to do is, let me just get this rid of this. We are going to start the Minikube Kubernetes cluster, and this. Let me just skip first the chat. There is. I did create a source code for this. All right, there we go. So in the chat, I posted the source code for this project. If you guys want to take a look at that, you guys can totally just feel free to improve on it and like change around it, and like make your own versions of it. It's pretty cool. It's pretty just like really standard. Okay, so let's get on with it. First of all, we're gonna start the Minikube. And I will be using Docker. So for this to work, you just need to get Docker. I'm using Docker Desktop. You can use whatever to set up. And if you guys do want, I did write a blog on getting started with Kubernetes, in where you can you can just like set up Minikube in like 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And if you're like me, you just want to start like working with it all the way, that's like a great tutorial to get started with it. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is just start a Minikube cluster with 5 virtual CPUs and 10 gigs of RAM. And this will just start it up. Yeah. Anyways, let me see if I can, well, this time, let me see if I can find that one real quickly. All right, and there we go. Oh, okay. So I guess the repo is on private. This is the blog here, where you guys can go ahead and get started with Minikube, because I won't be covering that here, but it's really easy. Let me just get this. And yeah, let me see. I think now, Josh, if you want to check that out, I think should be ready now. Should be available to see that GitHub repository. Okay, so after we start up the Kubernetes cluster, we're just going to start up the k8ssandra using a YAML file. And that one is, I just use the one that they got from the documentation. So that one is also pretty easy to get started with. If you guys want to just go ahead and get started with that, it should be pretty easy. All right, this should have been done by now. While we wait here. All right, perfect. All right, now let me see. All right, perfect. So we have the node running, and just one thing before we need to do this local path storage that requires for Cassandra k8ssandra to work. And then we'll use Helm to add the repo and then update the repo. So, okay. All right, so this is the example they provide on the k8ssandra documentation. It's pretty simple, like it requests a low amount of resources to run on your local system. So let's get that going, because that takes 5 minutes also to start. So So while that is loading, I want to talk about also the way because we'll also be using Kafka in this demo. So what I did was I created a Docker Compose file for running these Zookeeper and Kafka on my local machine, right? And so I just in order to get that going, in order for these four files here to be created, I just use the command compose convert, and then you just use that, and then it converts whatever file you have in the directory into services in deployment for Kubernetes. And after that, you just port forward the port, right? You forward the port, and then you can use it as Docker, right? But it's just Kubernetes. So while we wait for this again, so kubectl get services. All right, so we can see here all the services that k8ssandra provides us with. We have DC1. This is the Stargate service. This is some pods and DC1 services. I'm assuming 9042, that should be Cassandra, right? Then we have Prometheus and Grafana. Actually, no, I think just Prometheus. I don't think they have Grafana, but if you want to use that also, you can connect Prometheus with Grafana. I know that just goes with each other, so you can use that with k8ssandra. It comes built in. And then let's see. So yeah, so it takes a little bit, like 5 minutes to start up, because it takes a little bit more time to start up. But while we wait, we can just just after you get these 4 files here, the services and the deployments for Kafka, we can just apply them, right? And that would create them. Right, so the services, you can see the services now as well, the Zookeeper and the Kafka. So while we wait for that, let me see. So in order for us to use, no, we'll just be using like a regular k8ssandra, which is just Cassandra on Kubernetes. I know that Astra, which is DataStax's version of Cassandra, uses Stargate in the way they developed it. So I will be using Stargate to communicate with, Cassandra in the Kubernetes cluster, right? And just getting to that point, there is a Postman collection. I just post that into the chat. You guys can take a look at that. There's like a ton of examples of how to work with Stargate. So that Stargate is pretty cool. I like using it. Okay, support initializing should start right now pretty soon. Okay, so it takes about like 5 minutes for it to start. While we wait up, maybe I can see. So in order to work with the Stargate API, we need to get. All right, so we need first to get the authorization key for it. And the way we do that, we just get using these 2 commands, and which I'll post in the GitHub repository README. You guys can follow along to this. You just get the username, and then you get the password. And then what you do is just you post a request to the REST API, which you get an authorization token using the username and the Cassandra. So once this finishes initializing, I will use that to get our our authorization token. So let me see. It seems like everything is running. It does seem like everything is running. Okay, perfect. All right, so we're port forwarding now. So far, does anybody have any questions? Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay. Is Cassandra DB? No, Cassandra is just Cassandra database on Kubernetes. So what you see here is like, so I'm assuming this DC1, data center one, this on 1942, which means that is the Cassandra database, but it's running on Kubernetes cluster. Kubernetes cluster is just like container orchestration tool run mainly used for production in like a large environment, large production environment where you can scale, upscale, downscale, and like you know, you don't have downtime. Oh, I did. Okay, sorry. The JSON. Yeah, this is the JSON thing. Okay. Okay. So yeah, does that answer your question? Yeah. So yeah, kind of like it's a Cassandra is just like an orchestration of all these services, all these pods, and all these services, which actually make your life as a developer much easier to use, right? So you just don't have to manually go and do this, which I did for Kafka, right? Because I did this for Kafka myself, whereas Cassandra just packs this all together into one thing and then lets you all use these, like the Stargate, the Prometheus, the Reaper, like these helpers, which help you, help you use Cassandra on Kubernetes. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to port forward the nodes, or I mean the ports, excuse me, so that I can use this on my local environment, right? So as I said, we need the password, the username, and now we will get the curl request. And then instead of this password here, we can use this one. And so you see, we get the authorization token right here. Cassandra, what offer will what it offers is you run on Kubernetes. And when you run on Kubernetes, like I said, for a production environment, you can scale, upscale, and downscale a lot. I guess everything, every feature that Kubernetes has would be a benefit if you're running Cassandra on Kubernetes. If that's specifically for some projects, it might not be worthwhile. For some, it might, and how does minimum hardware requirements for Cassandra database to put? I'm not sure. I don't know about that. Minimum hardware requirements for me. It just like you saw, it just Minikube cluster of 10 gigabytes of RAM, 5 virtual CPUs. If you have like a decent machine at home, you can run this in development. Usually, people that run Cassandra will run this on like large clusters on Kubernetes on the AWS, for example, which like replicas, and then they can use that for to downscale and upscale and other stuff. And so yeah, that's just basically all the benefits you get from Kubernetes, you get from running Cassandra on Kubernetes, and like a lot more. I'm sure if Raul was here now, he could talk about more about that, how you can use that in a virtual, in a production environment. I don't have that much experience with production environments in a large scale that I can specifically say, oh, this is what it provides. This is why it's good, why it's bad. But also he has a blog on a blog page, and you guys can check that out if you want. That's exactly what it says there. Okay, right. So now we're port forwarding. We have our authorization token, and let's just go firstly with using an API. We're going to use Postman, for example, and we're going to create a key space. In the key space, in the body of the API call, we'll just put the name, the YouTube, whatever we want to call it. We'll just call it YouTube. The way it works is you do v2 schemas key spaces, And if you guys can see that that I sent that GitHub JSON thing, there's like a lot of examples there. So in the headers, the only thing we have to do is adjust our Cassandra token, and the Cassandra token we just got here, right? And we'll just put it in the headers, like really basic stuff. And we created it, right? We can also use this to check if it's created. So again, in the headers, I will update this. I should have put this. Okay. Oh yeah, so you see the result. It says here it's created, and a lot of information about the key space and about like the data center, right? So see DC1, this is the data centers, which what I was saying. In the services, you can see here, DC1 default STS, right? It just gives you a lot of information about it. Next, we'll create a table. So again, we will update this and we'll create the table. All right, so we create a table of results. And the way you create the table is, okay, you put the name, right? In column definitions, here you have the name of the column, the type of the column, right? And then primary key, partitioning key, and clustering key, right? You can set this up. So that's what I said compared to k8ssandra, which is like Elasticsearch and Cassandra together, which is, it's a little bit similar to me, but you can't really like create this much in depth. I guess you have more control here in Stargate. That's why like it's more popular. And you know, so the order of ascending order, right? So anybody that knows Cassandra knows like this is when you create tables, this is really important. So if you can create the tables using the primary key and specifically put whatever partitioning key, clustering key, and the clustering order, so that's, you know, that's amazing to me. Also, another way that we can also, like I said, another way that we can communicate with Stargate, which is like the between the Cassandra cluster, Kubernetes cluster, Cassandra, and your local environment, is through GraphQL. And all you have to do here is just put, again, just put the authorization token that we got, and then, oh no, oh, sorry, wrong body. There we go. And you see, for more like if you want to use, I guess, I don't know, more, if you want to use GraphQL, you can use it in addition to document API. And you, like you see, it's just basic GraphQL. You can do a lot more here. But you know, just for example, I just showed you here, you see the key space name, and we see the table that we created right now using the REST API. We can see the columns here, which one is partitioning, which one is primary key, and all of that. Okay, so now that we have this going, and let's get back to the code. We have port forwarding. Now what we have to do is, like we do, like so, kubectl get services. So we see we created this Kafka and Zookeeper. These are the two files I added. So we will port forward those two. Okay, so we have a message from Sunny. So for Cassandra on Kubernetes, k8ssandra, can you control or scale in, scale out the number of nodes, instances running as a part of the Cassandra cluster running on Kubernetes? I'm not sure. I think you can. I think everything you can do on like a regular local environment, a local Cassandra, you know, you can do it on Kubernetes, right? I believe that's the case. I don't know if anybody here has experience with that, doing that, and can. Yeah, I believe so. I believe you can do everything like if you do it locally as well. Right. Thank you. Okay, so now we have to port forward, and before that, let me just show you this is the Kafka Kubernetes service that we're going to expose. We have some ports, we have some IPs. All right, so we'll just do Zookeeper here. Let's create another one here. And then, so now we have this thing. Another thing, so let's go to believe. We can also connect to secure SSH. Okay, so we'll use that later on to check if our data is in there. Next, we have the consumer npm. And this is just a regular JavaScript that just uses a Kafka consumer, like a node that I downloaded from the internet somewhere. It's all in the repository that I put. Also, let me see here. Let's get this. All you need to do, if you want to run this locally, all you need to do is just change this Cassandra token, and that's it. And then we have the consumer, and then the producer, which is somewhere around here. It just we take YouTube API. For this, I'm using YouTube API. We'll get some things going in it. Let's say 50 records of a YouTube search, and then we'll add it to Cassandra. Pretty straightforward. All right, so we can see the way I set it up. You can see the format of it and how it looks like. If you see in the port forwarding, you can see that it's handling the connections for it. So, it's just writing data. That means we can just make sure that it's writing data. Okay. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you, Jet. No problems. All right. So we got this. And so we have the data now inserted into Cassandra, which is also running on Kubernetes again. So now on this secure SSH, let me see exactly what was the command for that. Okay, so while I just find the command really quickly, because I forgot to save it. If anybody has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself, ask the question. So we'll use our username. I'm not sure about that. So B. Boyong asks, is k8ssandra deployable on bare metal production environment? I'm not sure about that. What does the bare metal production environment mean? If somebody else, knows about that, can actually speak to that. I guess I'm username. Yeah, let's get the username. How is the username now?
Excuse me, please.
Yes.
Excuse me. At the moment, I run Kubernetes using VPS, kind of bare metal deployment in production. So after scanning through the doc of Cassandra, I do not see like most of the examples for a quick start is more for development environment. And I see public cloud examples and local installation. So I do not know if there is a kind of maybe guide on how to deploy Cassandra in bare metal environment for production.
So you mean like developing it, not on Minikube, like locally, you want to run it on like AWS or something, like on a cloud provider? Is that right?
No, I want to run it using VPS, like using kubeadmin or kube ADM.
Oh, I'm not sure about that actually. To be honest with you, other than kubectl, right? I don't know if anybody else knows about this. And
so I can probably help try to answer that a little bit. So I think generally speaking, the answer is yes, it should be possible. It will depend. Obviously, there's a certain set of Kubernetes versions that are supported by k8ssandra. Probably the biggest obstacle that we see going across Kubernetes providers is really about the storage that's available. So getting the storage class right, that's probably the biggest hurdle. But I think your point is a very good one, that we do not have on the k8ssandra docs really anything about running on bare metal Kubernetes clusters, mainly because we don't anticipate that that's the most common of use cases, that it's really the cloud provided infrastructure that most people are interested in. But that is a good point for sure, but it should be possible.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to play with that later.
Okay, so now as you can see, after I run the Kafka producer and consumer, all the data here is in our results table. Why I'm using this CQSH? Because in order for you to read data, specifically with the API, you would need to specifically ask for title, I guess, and then channel. I'm not sure if there's like an option. I couldn't find like where I can just like read all the data in one table. So using this thing called CQSH Astra, which you can download from the DataStax website, you just connect to the cluster DataStax. There's Cassandra cluster on Kubernetes. And you can see I'm running k8ssandra, right, at this port, this IP, and I think this is version 3.1. I do believe now that k8ssandra also allows us to use Cassandra 4.0. So I think that's perfect. If you want to use the new version of Cassandra, you can also use like Cassandra 4.0, and that's that just recently launched, I believe. And yeah, after that we get all the data here, and that's basically that. It's still the surface. There's obviously way more stuff that you can do with k8ssandra, like if you like I said, use check out Prometheus, connect that to Grafana, you can monitor real-time data and all of that. So that's pretty interesting. Yeah, that's going to be pretty much for the demo for today. Let me see. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Jeff. Yeah. Anyway, if there's any more questions, and if you guys wanna have a conversation, and if you got so many opinions of Kubernetes or k8ssandra in general, I see maybe Jeff can help us out really, because maybe he can answer some of the questions that I can't. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. I think Jeff just made mention of that in the course of providing an answer to my previous question. Sorry. So I was kind of wondering how do we manage storage when deploying Cassandra, how do we handle storage? And the experience I've had when I'll still have to talk again about deploying Cassandra on, Kubernetes on bare metal, is using the things like port nodes, where we have we have all the nodes receiving traffic, or they are being, we have the applications or the how can I say, the clusters. Let me put this, where we have the services deploying one node being replicated across all the nodes that are present in the cluster. So I'm kind of wondering, in that kind of scenario, how do we manage how do you manage the storage? Is it like we kind of, in that case, we kind of mount an external storage where we have these services, like mount an external storage should be like a one entry point or multiple entry point. I don't really know. So what my question is, how do we really handle storage? Let's say even it's in cloud. How does Cassandra really take storage into account? Talking about disk space at this point.
Okay, so I think what you're referring is to, and if somebody else knows how to answer this better than me, can totally feel free to comment. But I think you're talking about like whenever you put on production and you have, a node, more nodes like that, because this is just a simple node, one node on Minikube. In production, you will have, I guess, multiple nodes, and in those multiple nodes, you have pods which are made of volumes and containerized applications, which is this. And then in the volumes, I assume that's where you would control, you would store the data, right? And then you have node processes, which would allow you to do all of that. And just on that note, I'll just push this one or two pallets of like the theory behind Kubernetes. And I think most of the answers you're looking for is you can see here this one and the second part of this blog post, which our CEO Raul wrote, and it's extensive. And if you want to get started with Kubernetes, and you should totally take a look at that. Yeah, but yeah, if anyone else thinks, if anyone else here knows how better to answer this question, please do, because I don't know if I answered your question honestly.
I think that was a reasonable answer there. The kind of like the extension of that is that you would use, otherwise normal Kubernetes volume management constructs there. And then what k8ssandra will do is create the claims against those. And you can control in the k8ssandra Helm file, when you actually deploy via Helm, you can control the size of those claims. So like, I think in the quick example from the site that you used here, it was maybe like 5 gigs or something like that, something small, but you're in control of how large of a volume those claim. And there are some requirements around the storage class that's being used, which that's kind of what I was alluding to before, that's typically the biggest difference when you're talking about deploying k8ssandra amongst the different providers that you'd have to grapple with locally too. But I think overall that was good. So I'm not trying to, plug our Discord, but I think that if you want to reach out, so I just so everybody's just so I work at DataStax as part of the k8ssandra team. So that is the best way to get to us. And we have some people that are very well in depth in the storage on Kubernetes that could probably help answer more specific questions there that aren't here right now.
Oh, thank you so much. I actually joined this Discord. Thank you so much. I didn't know this existed. Honestly, if I had somebody to ask for when I was doing this, it would be a much help. Thank you.
For sure.
Anyway, yeah. So if for me, k8ssandra, pretty cool tool, I guess, on Kubernetes. The really cool aspect of it is the Stargate, which you can use the REST API to connect to it and just create tables and read data, add data. Just basically you don't have to it's really easier, I guess, using the REST API. And if you're developing something like a web application, should be really helpful. One thing, like it really, like I said, it really it's close to me to like something like Cassandra, which is like Elasticsearch and Cassandra in the way the API communicates with itself. So, but that's just like locally, that's not on Kubernetes. And yeah. If anybody has like any more questions, feel free.
Thanks, Stefan. And thank you, Jeff, for joining us and fielding some of those questions as well. That was really, really helpful. Always appreciate people who share their knowledge and kind of help us formulate more of a discussion here. If there aren't any more questions, we can give you guys about 10 minutes of your day back.
Thanks, man.
Doesn't seem like anyone's being forthcoming with any new questions. So thank you everyone for joining us. Again, Jeff, for sharing your knowledge, and Stefan for the great presentation. That was really good. And we will be back next week, Monday, noon Eastern time for Data Engineers Lunch, or Cassandra Lunch as well.